A family moves into a new house which turns out to have some sort of presence within. The twist in this story being, though, we are seeing this all from the perspective of the presence within this house. Film fans of YouTube, hello and welcome back to the channel. I am Josh, the Movie Apprentice, and today I am looking at Presence, directed by Steven Soderbergh. This stars a talented cast including Callina Liang, Chris Sullivan, Lucy Liu, Eddy Maday, and West Mulholland. This is another film advertised by Neon Pictures that says this is the scariest movie of the year. And I'm going to set some expectations for people because it seems like whenever there was a film advertised as the scariest movie of the year, it seems there's a good portion of the audience that wants to go in and get jump scares, see a scary monster, and vice versa. So when you're seeing horror movies advertised as scary, it tends to be this rule of, if it is Blumhouse, then yes, expect your spook house jump scary stuff. If it's distributed by A24, then expect the elevated horror weirdness side of things. And then when we get to Neon, their horror movies and thrillers all come down to atmosphere and tension and building anxiety within the viewer. And that is exactly what Presence does. So if that is their definition of scary, then yes, this is a pretty damn scary movie because this is a movie that feeds off tension and builds an anxiety level that leaves you white-knuckled. I will say up front, there is a scene in this that might require a trigger warning for some ladies out there because that entire scene, I felt anxious and nervous. Just the build-up of the scene and the performances on screen left me feeling very uncomfortable and very anxious. So that is what I'm going to say up front. It's not a horror movie that comes with the scares. It's all about the atmosphere and tension, giving you that sense of anxiety to carry throughout the film's runtime, and it succeeds in that fantastically through some fantastic cinematography. This is a film built off the blocks of the camera operator and the performances on screen, telling us a very mundane story over the course of time that is punctuated by scenes of this entity doing something. This is a film that lacks in jump scares because when the entity is about to do something that would cause a jump scare, you know they're about to do it because we are seeing it all from their perspective. This is very much told from a first-person fly-on-the-wall perspective as this entity is watching this family living their life within these walls, and it eavesdrops on their conversations, on their problems, and reacts accordingly. My flaws with the film are the rules of what the entity can interact with and when they can interact with it seems very inconsistent. There are times that it gets involved on most mundane things, and there are times where you feel like it should be more involved or take more of an aggressive action because we've seen it do an aggressive action its exact scenario before, but it doesn't do it purely for the sake of the ending has to happen. So from a script writing perspective, I will say it gets quite weak at times because there is some generic dialogue exchange between characters, and there are characters that come out with certain phrases and lines that the other person in that scene would not react to in that way. So that is where the film flops for me a little bit because there are some moments where people don't react how a normal person would react to what someone is saying, and that is my big downside with the movie. However, the performances are really strong in this. Callina Liang, she is basically the main character in this. Whilst the spirit follows this whole family, she is the one it seems to form an attachment to and keeps an eye on the most, and their emotional reservedness, what this character is dealing with, means that the performance has to be strong for Callina, and Callina does it very, very well. Chris Sullivan as well might be one of my favorite dad characters of all time. Like, he never reacts in a way that feels unnatural, and he's a very understanding father. So there are times where he has to deal with conflict within the family where he either takes a step back or he gets directly involved and takes the initiative on certain elements. I really liked that aspect of his character. And West Mulholland, his performance is an uncomfortable one, but an enjoyable one. It's one of those where people need to distinguish an actor from the performance they are giving out, because if people are judging this actor based on the performance they give in this movie, then he is never going to know peace ever again. He is genuinely very unnerving, and going through his IMDb, there's nothing he's really been in that I recognize. So I hope this is something that springboards this actor forward, if not makes him a little bit typecast. But going back to what this film does well, it's building the tension through the cinematography and those breadcrumbs of information that is left through the dialogue. Whilst the dialogue isn't always the strongest suit for the movie, I will say that the breadcrumbs it leaves allows you to piece things together as an audience member, and it never shortchanges you as a viewer. You come out of it genuinely feeling like the film has given you enough to work on that you could appreciate what the film was trying to do by the end. So whilst I do have that gripe that the ghost could have easily stopped a few things from happening, it does require you to suspend disbelief a little bit, purely because we need to get to a certain point and a certain revelation that is revealed in the very last scene that needs to happen. So if the ghost did intervene, then this ending could not have happened in any way. Whilst there is a flaw in the script, I do find the journey of the film very engaging. Lucy Liu is great as the mother in this. She delivers a very solid performance as the fully in control mother, and she very much dotes on the son of the family, almost neglecting the daughter. She delivers a solid performance for the few scenes she's on. She's not in this all that much compared to some of the other performers, but she does a solid job indeed. But the way this film just builds with atmosphere, you are just moving through this house with this spirit and watching it eavesdrop on all these conversations. So when it's actually interacting, you are seeing it from a first person's perspective. It will pick up a book, it will smash a shelf, it will shake a window. You get to really appreciate its powers. And through some smart editing as well, you get the sense that this spirit can only do so much, flipping the haunted house aspect on its head and allowing just this first person camera to have a layer of character. Like the camera itself becomes a character. We are living within a character with this movie, and that is where the film shines strongest for me. You never know what's going to happen because there are several scenes where it will just be a little conversation, cut to black, little conversation, cut to black, little conversation, cut to black, and then bam, next scene, something will happen within the scene, and you can never tell when the spirit is going to get involved, which adds that level of tension to the movie. This is a movie that is filled with tension and has scenes that will fill you with anxiety. But if you want a jump scary movie, you're not going to get it here because Neon does not do that kind of movie. Before I get into my grade, if you like what you're seeing on the channel, click the like button and subscribe for more video reviews that's coming all the time. Without further ado, let's grade this one. Presence is a movie that flips the haunted house concept on its head. It does it in a phenomenal way, relying on the performers on screen and the movement and expression of the camera to really convey this story. It has some very uncomfortable scenes, some really uncomfortable performances, and whilst it does lack in script structure and some dialogue feels very generic, character reactions don't really add up. It's all a case of things need to happen so that the ending can happen, and the ending has this very bittersweet feeling to it. So I can't fault the film for ignoring some logic in order to reach that final point. So it's one I would very much recommend, but you want in a jump scary movie to cuddle up with or laugh out with your friends, you're not going to get it here because Neon does not do that kind of horror movie. This is very much a psychological horror movie that fills you with anxiety and tells a very compelling story through the use of cinematography. Presence is a good cup of tea. So Presence, have you seen it? If you have, let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you like what you're seeing on the channel, click the like button and subscribe for more video reviews that's coming all the time. And until next time, everybody, I am Josh, I have been Movie Apprentice, and I'll see you all in the next video.